Good morning. We'll come to order. This meeting of the California High-Speed Rail Authority Board of Directors is now in session. Would the Secretary please call the roll?
Here.
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 Here. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, before we start, as you may have noticed that there were some changes during the roll call this morning, and I just want to comment on those briefly. First of all, Director Michael Rossi had stepped down from the authority, and Mike resigned earlier in January. Actually, he indicated that that would be his last meeting. I have a message from him that I'd like to read very quickly. And he said, as I had mentioned to many, I'd like people to know that I've been getting my life back together for a while now. Mike has done yeoman's service on a number of things, both in the public and private sector. And he said, and I've decided to pull the trigger, I decided to pull the trigger at the beginning of January. He said, I found service on this board to be challenging, demanding, and a great learning experience. I want to thank the staff and my board colleagues for letting me take this journey with them. I wish them, the governor, and his new administration much success. And I'd just like to add a personal note. Mike Rossi may be one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. For those of you who had to deal with him, he could be gruff and he could be demanding, but I think he was also fair. His ire usually would fall on those who were either being obfuscatory or untruthful, but once you got past that with Mike, there was no one who was ever more loyal. And I think he, along with Tom Richards, really established the gold standard for oversight and governance through the Finance and Audit Committee. Transparency is a word that's thrown around a lot, but under Mike's leadership and Tom's, literally every piece of information about this project is available through that committee and through its website. So I think it leaves a huge hole on this authority board that I hope either the governor or the legislative appointing authorities will keep in mind as they look for candidates to step into these slots. This project needs people of that caliber and who are willing to sacrifice in that way. Mike's seat has been filled by Lenny Mendonça, and Governor Newsom has appointed Mr. Mendonça to this board. He is serving the governor also as his economic advisor. Lenny is somebody who has a long history in the business world as a senior business advisor. He's well known throughout the state, especially in the Central Valley. And I haven't known him well before this, but I and every person who knows him has the deepest respect for him. It's an excellent choice to add to our board. So, Lenny, welcome.
Thank you.
And I think you can make comments now or later when, whichever you'd like to do.
Why don't I do them later?
Okay. So with that, we'll now open the public comment section. And at the moment, I only have two speaker cards. I do want to comment that in my first meeting, I think there were something like 60 or 70. So I think we have at least reduced the anger level somewhat. So first will be David Schwegel, and he'll be followed by Mr. Ted Hart.
Good morning. High-Speed Rail Board. David Schwegel, walking on thick ice. I'm with GSEC. ICE stands for Inclusion, Completion, and Engagement. Inclusion. It would be helpful to have a HSR scoreboard within CAHSRA so that all PEs can be heard out. whether or not they are on the actual project. For example, on Merced de Sacramento, one of those PEs might talk about what a mutually beneficial working relationship would look like with the Ultimate Corridor Express. Second, completion. To Gavin Newsom, I say there is an easy path to Sacramento. That is the flat and open Merced de Sacramento section. If we're able to get that up and running sooner rather than later, that would mean that we can unlock ridership revenue and private investment. Because I noticed with Sound Transit, they didn't simply start at Angle Lake and SeaTac Airport only to stop at an industrial park in South Seattle and put people on motor scooters and bikes and buses to get the rest of the way into Seattle. They went the whole way. And moving the whole way here means that we would be able to get elected officials and constituents alike to see what it is we are doing firsthand. Third and finally, engagement. There would be valuable information to have the upcoming consultants submit a statement of qualifications detailing how they are advancing this project on their own unpaid time. And among the top mentors have been the millennials, talking in terms of what this project means for their generation. Because we can all agree that hearing from them, that makes everything that we're doing well worth it. And Mr. Chairman, Richard, I just wanted to thank you for your outstanding leadership. You have demonstrated phenomenal engagement, especially by spending a good hour with the delegates at the U.S. High-Speed Rail Association conference in San Francisco. And I'm sure we're going to see extraordinary engagement coming up in April and May, April 30th through May 2nd in Los Angeles. So thanks again for your outstanding leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Schwegel. Thank you. Ted Hart, followed by Miguel Arias. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Good morning, Mr. Hart.
I'll move this back a little bit. Good morning. And I'll address Dan specifically now. He mentioned the 60 people that were speaking at that first meeting. I happen to have been at that first meeting, having been at these meetings for about 10 years. And I don't know if it's just that I outlasted everyone, I just got a whole lot older, or whatever the case may be. But I've stuck with it, you've stuck with it, so that takes us to that point. I want to thank the board for the opportunity to speak to you today. And I'd like to thank Governor Newsom specifically for moving high-speed rail up to the top of his agenda. And his comment, let's be real, well, it finally got the media's attention because Sunday's Bee, of course, went front page with these long articles. And it was just good to see that the media now is paying attention. A lot of you may think they have, but since I monitor them closely, they really haven't. Now we have their attention. I've been saying the same thing for the past 10 years of let's be real. And there's only one issue for California taxpayers. Can the high-speed rail train system being built between Bakersfield and Merced operate without a subsidy? The facts say no. The Grenly-Warren 63-page ridership report that was given to the board last month provides conclusive evidence that this is the case. Mr. Grenly and Mr. Warren would welcome the opportunity to meet with you or meet with whomever may have control here. I would suggest that it would be worthwhile to bring these people together, and so you could sit down and take a look at what is going to be the critical issue, and that is ridership. The Hamilton report posted Monday provides a written history of quotes by board members that say there is insufficient ridership for the operable Valley segment. This is on record. The ridership fares that are tied directly to Prop 1A bond funds, which state clearly that no bond funds may be used if subsidies are required. Let's be real and recognize that no one believes there is sufficient ridership between Bakersfield and Merced. I would give you the analogy, I mentioned it to both Dan and Tom a little earlier. It's kind of like they keep moving the goalposts. We started out years ago and we were going south, then we're going north. Well, we finally have locked down that there's a goalpost in Bakersfield and there's one in Merced. And so we're playing this game, but the game really is the ridership. And that's what we're looking at.
Okay.
So anyway, I would say that based on what information I have or that we have put together, it's time to shut it down. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Miguel, is it Arias? Arias. Council member, I'm so sorry. I normally start with elected officials first.
It's okay.
I
If
had
you're asking my mother,
a
it's
brain
Arias.
hiccup.
If you're asking my mother, it's Arias. If you're asking everybody else, it's just Miguel. So,
Well, council
thank
member, welcome, and my apologies for that, sir. You should
no
have
need
been
to apologize. I just wanted to spend a moment this morning to remind you that what this project represents to so many of us in the Central Valley. As you mentioned, my name is Miguel Arias, and I just got elected to represent the heart of Fresno, which is the heart of the high-speed rail project. This last week, we celebrated with high-speed rail the completion of the realignment of 99. For us, high-speed rail represents a lot of things. One, of course, is the thousands of jobs that's created locally for an economy that's always at the bottom to recover in the state of California and always lagging behind the nation. It also represents the thousands of small businesses that you've been able to impact and the economic boost that you've been able to give us. This is dramatically and critically important for us, especially for my district, which has the zip codes with the highest concentration of poverty in the United States. Let me say that again. Neighborhoods in my district, in the heart of the high-speed rail, represent the highest concentration of poverty in the United States and have been for more than 20 years. The high-speed rail has been an opportunity for us to try and turn that narrative and that history around. However, that's not all of what high-speed rail is to us. The real promise for us is a promise of a healthier Fresno and a healthier Central Valley. Not only do we have the highest concentration of poverty in the U.S., but we also have the dirtiest air basin in the state of California. And what that means for us, it means that residents and my neighbors live 20 years less than people in North Fresno and the rest of the state of California. It's literally cutting away 20 years of their lifespan because of the pollution created across the state and the valley that just remains in our basin. High-speed rail actually represents an opportunity for my kids and future generations to have a healthier life and a better opportunity than we did. And I leave you with this, just a quick reminder that the greatest generation in our country rebuilt our country, not for themselves, but for us. And we have a moral responsibility to do the same. So stay on track, hold folks accountable, be sharp in your goals, but don't give up on the future of the Central Valley and the future of our kids. I think the greatest generation would have done that to us. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you so much, council member, and congratulations. The last speaker card I have is from Keith Dunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Keith Dunn here for the Association of California High-Speed Trains, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for all your hard work. We've had a long working history together, one that I've enjoyed, and I've appreciated your dedication to this project and to your colleagues here on the board and California as a whole. So I couldn't let today pass without just saying thank you for that, for your friendship, and for your continued hard work and dedication. We're looking forward to working with our new board member and chair and the rest of you, but I just wanted to make sure that we got to take a few minutes here to just say thank you. It's been very appreciated, and your dedication should be recognized. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Keith. Okay, no other public speakers. Yes. Director Schenck.
With your permission, I'm going to go to the podium.
Okay.
I didn't fill out a speaker's card. Is that okay?
You know, for 7 years, you've been telling me to hold to the clock.
Yeah. It is a day of exceptions. First of all, when you first were appointed, I gave you my condolences. So today I'll give you my congratulations. And Lenny, you have my condolences. And someday I will give you congratulations. May I just, first, as a point of privilege, today is Bonnie Lowenthal's birthday. And so we want to wish her a very, very happy birthday. Thank you for spending it with us, Bonnie. So Dan, you and I met when we were, let's say, young pups in Governor Jerry Brown's first and second administration. And in 1981, when I was Secretary of Business, Transportation, and Housing and brought the concept of high-speed rail to the governor, you and I had no idea what fate had in store for us. We went our separate ways in life, but crossed paths occasionally, such as during the energy crisis. And truth be told, we were not always on the same side of the issues. So when Governor Brown was elected for his third term and called me to say that he was appointing you to this body, I would say, well, let me be diplomatic, I was skeptical because I knew what your strengths were, and I had also tangled with you on other things. And high-speed rail was my policy passion, and as you know, authored the bill in 1994 that was signed by President Clinton. But Jerry thought you would make a good chairman. Well, Dan, speaking, I know, on behalf of all of my colleagues, good doesn't begin to describe what your chairmanship has been for this body. It's just truly, you know, the young people use the word awesome. Well, to me, the pyramids are awesome. You know, the Big Bang Theory is awesome. But you have been an awesome chairman.
Thank you.
What you have accomplished has just truly been extraordinary. Yes, we still don't see eye to eye on every issue. And you know, we have clashed on occasion about, as you have with others, just because we have differences of opinion. But your passion for this project is absolutely unquestioned. And I know that I speak for all of our colleagues when we say how much I appreciate and they appreciate your commitment of time at the expense of your private pursuits. And even during the terrible illness and passing of your beloved wife, Jackie, your commitment to this project has been remarkable. Your vision about the project has been clear-eyed from the moment you took over what was really a state of chaos. There were more than 60 people at that first meeting, and I would say 99% of them were angry and were negative, and this is where you brought us to a day such as this. Dan, you have been involved in every complicated nuance, in all of the intricacies of the complex contracts, in untangling the most tangled web of interests. You have been unfailingly polite and patient, even with those who didn't deserve your politeness and your patience. You understand the delicate ins and outs of dealing with every stakeholder, from local communities, the federal and state government agencies and officials, and even the press and this board, your colleagues. Your ability to listen, to really hear what people say, and then synthesize in a coherent and clear manner the cacophony of competing points of view is a rare, rare talent. It is one that, frankly, I envy. Your commitment to this mission provided the critical leadership, the guidance, and oversight desperately needed these past years. Yours was the steady hand at the helm. I truly admire and appreciate your tremendous contribution You, Dan, set the standard and the definition for public service. You have served this cause with dignity, honor, and integrity, above all, integrity. More than a dozen years ago, this board, comprised of other people, voted to name future train cars for those who had made a special impact. Meddy Morshed, our first executive director, Rod Dearden, Quentin, Kopp, me. Well, when the day comes and the trains are rolling, and that day will come, Dan, I expect that your name will be added to an engine, because that's what you have been for these past 7.5 years, the engine that could. If I am considered the mother of high-speed rail, and never really a compliment, then you, my friend, are its godfather. God bless you and all your future endeavors. You are so much a part of high-speed rail's history, and I really hope that you will continue to be a part of its future. And so I would ask everyone here to please rise and say thank you to our chairman, Dan Richards.
I can't tell you what that meant, and I really, really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. I was going to make some farewell remarks at this point. I should start by saying that I'm a pilot, and Mike Rossi and I he got in my airplane, we were flying, and I said, you know, if this airplane goes down, Rossi, it tears a big hole in the program. I said, on the other hand, maybe they'll name a station after us. And he said, yeah, but it'll be an underground station. So I guess that works. Well, I did want to write some remarks out so I could time them so I could make sure that I didn't go on too long, which is I'm wont to do. But colleagues and friends, first of all, I want to thank everybody for the kind comments this morning, and Lynn, those were really wonderful. They're very much appreciated. 7 years ago this month, after serving on the board for a half year, I took over as chair, stepping into a leadership position for the nation's largest infrastructure program. It has been a truly extraordinary journey, exhilarating at times and frustrating at other times, and other times, and other times. In my letter of resignation to Governor Newsom recently, I outlined many of the things that we've accomplished over those years, so I'm not going to repeat those here. But I do want to make it clear that I believe that California needs this project, and that connecting our state with high-speed rail is essential to our economy, to our quality of life, and to our future, a future that's increasingly imperiled by climate change. Mainly, though, today, I just want to share what this job has meant to me. First, and probably foremost, it's given me the chance to meet thousands of interesting and wonderful people. From my dedicated colleagues on this board, from those working here at the authority and among its contractors, to the stakeholders, local officials, state and federal lawmakers, transportation leaders from across the nation and beyond. And of course, those whose only label is perhaps the most important, ordinary California citizens. There are some extraordinary leaders among us, especially among our mayors, like my friend, former mayor of Fresno, Ashley Swearingen, who may in fact be the best of the best. Many of these professional relationships will abide, but what I'll cherish even more are the new lifelong friendships that I take with me. Second, I've had a unique opportunity to get to know California in a way that never occurred in the decades that I've lived here. Up and down the state, I've spent days in Acton and Anaheim, Santa Clarita and San Jose, Gilroy and Hanford, Fresno and Fairmead. Like the first and last names on that list, there are many places I'd never heard of before I started this work. But what I found in each community is pride, beauty, and a sense of place. For some, they fear that high-speed rail poses a threat to their way of life, and we've tried to tread gently there. For others, they see this program as a welcome tool to revitalize their towns and brighten their future. Third, I've had the deep satisfaction of knowing that we've put people to work and provided training, opportunity, and hope for thousands of Californians. Often, as we face challenges or setbacks, I'd pull out a message that I got a few years ago from one of our many disabled American veteran business owners, Paul Cacciadorian in Fresno. He told me that he'd hired a person from the Welfare to Work CalWorks program. The employee had performed beyond his expectations, gotten promotions, and Paul said that the man, who may have previously been homeless, had just bought the first house he'd ever owned. Paul ended his note by saying, "You're changing cities and you're changing lives." Finally, as I step down from this position, I want to acknowledge that I wouldn't be sitting here today but for two extraordinary people. Shortly after that February 2012 board meeting where I became chair, my late wife Jackie was diagnosed with cancer. We were living in Washington, D.C. at the time, and I was commuting from there for what was supposed to be a part-time job as a board member here. As you would expect, I told her immediately that I would resign so that I could be by her side continuously. But she grew adamant that I needed to keep doing this work, just as she courageously served out her tenure as Assistant Secretary of the Navy. She said it was important, and she insisted that I stay with it. She's in my heart always, but especially so today. Finally, I of course want to thank Governor Jerry Brown for placing his trust in me to lead this effort. Though he was not the first to envision a modern rail transportation system for the state, his unwavering commitment and political courage got this program off the ground. It's never been about a legacy. Some 40 years ago, I was standing in his office with a small group of people, and I still remember him saying that if the state was down to its last dime, we had to find a penny to invest in the future. He's always believed that. Last year, a few days after we announced publicly that the initial segment cost estimates were significantly higher, he stood before the legislature and reaffirmed his belief that we must go forward still because the cost of not doing so was even greater. As for me, I continue to believe that high-speed rail can transform California, sustain our growth, revitalize our cities, spawn new industries, and lift people into good middle-class jobs. It may be the most important work I've ever done, and I'm forever grateful to have had the opportunity to serve the people of California. Thank you, and good luck. Thank you. Well, with that, since this is my last meeting and I'll be vacating the chair, oh, I'm sorry. And as always, I'm off kilter with what the agenda is, so. Mr. Falens.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, Dan, it's a great privilege on behalf of the high-speed rail staff, both private and public sector, to thank you and Mr. Rossi for 7.5 years of dedicated service on the High-Speed Rail Board. Unfortunately, Mike couldn't join us today, but I know he's watching. There's been significant progress and great accomplishments for the High-Speed Rail program due in large part to your vision, leadership, dedication, and hard work. Both Dan and Mike started on the board in August of 2011, both appointed by Governor Brown. Dan was voted chairman in 2012 and has been the chair of that 11-member board since that time, leading every monthly meeting with professionalism, grace, and humor. He's led the Transit and Land Use Committee that advised the full board on greenhouse gas emission policies, transportation interconnectivity, and rail station planning. Dan received national, state, and local recognition for his contributions and accomplishments. He received the White House Champion of Change Award in 2012, the Orange County Chapter Infrastructure Leadership Award in 2013, and the U.S. High-Speed Rail Association Governor Brown National High-Speed Rail Champions Award in 2018, to just name a few. Dan has testified multiple times before the state legislature and U.S. Congress on behalf of the program to answer elected lawmakers' questions. In 2012, the state legislative hearings led to a legislative vote that provided $6 billion of federal and state funding to complete statewide environmental clearances and construction in the Central Valley. Thank you, Dan, for being the face of high-speed rail. You've made all of us who work here proud to work for the authority. Mike Rossi was the chairman of the Finance and Audit Committee since 2013, a committee that reviewed and had oversight of all fiscal and audit matters, including the funding plans, budgets, state and federal audit reports, and performance metrics. Mike always set the bar high for staff that worked directly with him and put in many hours as we reviewed ridership and revenue numbers, cost estimates, audit reports. We always valued his advice, challenges to our preparation, and compliments when the work was completed. Thank you, Mike, for keeping us focused and for pushing us to a higher level of performance. In 2014, Mike was instrumental, along with Dan, in working with Governor Brown and the legislature in securing legislation for the cap and trade program, greenhouse gas reduction funds that now contributes hundreds of millions of dollars to fund this program through 2030. During Dan and Mike's tenure on the board, the authority has launched a program that was merely a planning agency, about 20 state staff, a couple hundred consultants, to an organization that now has over $6 billion of construction and right-of-way clearance activity, over 520 miles, and in the Central Valley, over 100 miles of construction. Under their leadership, the board has set an aggressive goal of 30% for small business and 3% veteran-owned businesses, which we're on track of achieving. The program has generated billions of dollars of economic activity for the state, created a high number of jobs for both California and other states that support this program. Both Dan and Mike have engaged with citizens of the state who have questions about the program and have generously shared the vision and details about the program. They listened and took to heart everyone's ideas and critiques. I could talk for hours about the accomplishments that Mike and Dan contributed to while they were on this board. I have been personally fortunate to work with both of them almost the entire time they were on the board. I actually started only a few weeks before these gentlemen. And I want to thank you for your mentoring and friendship. I have to say, the thing that stands out the most for me, though, as I reflect over the years, is how generous these two men have been with their life experiences, leadership skills, patience, and public service. Each one of these men have donated thousands of hours on this program. They've made great personal sacrifices in making that commitment. And they really didn't get very much in return, $500 a month maximum. Let Dan and Mike be examples for all of us what public service is and how that service can make a difference for us today and for future generations. With that, I'm going to ask everyone to join with me to applaud Dan and Mike. And on behalf of the staff, we have a small token of our appreciation, which Mike is going to get in the mail. Okay.
That's great. Thank you. And by the way, just a cautionary note, thanks to Hiram Johnson, any member of the government who takes a free ride on a common carrier can be debarred from public service for life. So used to walk around and collect the dollar bill. Okay, thank you all. Now it's time to open up the nominations to be the chair of the authority board as I step away from it. And so I'm going to exercise the privileges of the current chair to open the nominations by nominating Lenny Mendonça to be the next chair of the High Speed Rail Authority Board. I'll let him speak for himself, but as I said before, this is a man of great accomplishment. He brings tremendous business skills to this organization, which I think will be always welcomed. And it's my honor to nominate Mr. Mendonça to be board chair.
Second, Mr. Chair.
It should be a unanimous
I'm going to
second.
record that there was a unanimous second from the members of the board. The secretary does not need to call the roll. We'll just say by acclamation that Mr. Mendonça is the new chair. Lenny, congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Richard, and my colleagues for your vote today. I'm honored by your trust, and I take on this opportunity with humility and a committed sense of collegiality as we take the challenges before us. Dan, I particularly want to thank you, as well as Mr. Rossi, for your unyielding commitment to bring high-speed rail to California. As you heard from those who spoke before me, your leadership, your public service, and your genuine humanity are incredibly appreciated. The construction commenced in the Central Valley has already brought tremendous economic and environmental stewardship benefits that are so meaningful to the part of our state that's been left behind for too long. I also want to commend you and Mr. Rossi in particular for the creation of the Finance and Audit Committee as a standing committee of the body. As Governor Newsom noted last week, transparency must be the hallmark of this project. The F&A provides an important mechanism for us to transmit to the public and policymakers the project's challenges, opportunities, and achievements. I certainly intend to utilize the F&A committee and our website to inform the public on how taxpayer dollars are being spent, including on things like project change orders and contractor expenses. This project has been abstract for many Californians. The promises of high-speed rail are great. Improved mobility, expanded opportunity, enhanced environment. Our challenge now is to bring these promises forward as soon as possible to show Californians that high-speed rail is real, tangible, and transformative. Dan, once again, thank you for your public service. I look forward to your ongoing counsel and help as we move forward. And again, as others have said, your public service is to be commended and honored. So thank you again.
Thank you.
And Senator Bell would like to make a comment.
As you know, the main way the legislature works hand in hand with the High-Speed Rail Authority is to have an assembly member and a senator appointed as ex-official member of this board. And as a Senate appointee, I'd like to congratulate the chair, even though I wasn't able to vote for you. Congratulations. Looking forward to working with you. But also congratulate Dan Richard for his, not just for the High-Speed Rail Authority, but your history of public service to California and the United States in terms of not only rail but other activities as well. So congratulations of your public service, Dan. It's more than just a high-speed rail, though that's important here. I think people that serve and take time from their families deserve the thanks of everybody. As legislators start to dwell on changes and modifications for the high-speed rail plan, we are going to start a process by having a hearing in the Senate on the 26th of March, where we're going to do an overview, look at it, get the comments from the senators. Normally the process is that every 2 years the High-Speed Rail Commission works on a business plan, and that's presented to the Senate and Assembly committees for review and comment. However, this year we're going to have a discussion on the changes and ideas in a more broader sense as proposed by the governor and other people. So we open the discussion to look at options. As a representative of San Jose in the state Senate, I just want to say things I'll be looking at is how this affects the federal grants that we are attempting to get for the BART to San Jose project. We're going for a New Starts grants. I think the high-speed rail business plan this last year was very successful in integrating the planning with all the local planning that took place throughout the state of California. So I think we were very successful in that, and I want to see that continue. I think that in San Jose, our terminal project, we were able to get the voters to approve a toll bridge increase in the Bay Area, which funded $100 million for the Dearnon Station project, for example. I think the legislature has improved the financing and transportation in general by the passage and voter ratification, if you will, with Proposition 6 of legislation that I carried with Mr. Frazier. That's SB1. And the SB1 provided funds for the transportation projects that are all going to link in with the high-speed rail project, as well as many states funding with the local governments funding with their half-cent sales tax. The one area we don't have, and I'd like to get, this is where we're going to focus on in the Senate Transportation Committee this year, is the federal government hasn't come up to the table with financing. We have money from the state, we have money from the local governments for transportation and transit projects. We don't have money from the federal government, and we're going to urge a national infrastructure financing package in Congress this year to make sure that Congress helps to fund the infrastructure needs of the United States, including high-speed rail and other infrastructure needs that we have. San Jose wants to see the high-speed rail come to San Jose. We have long planned for it, we have invested in it, and we hope to see the project completed to San Jose as well as the rest of the Bay Area. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Bell. Look forward to working with you. Now we'd like to move on to today's agenda. Can we begin with the motion to approve the minutes from the January meeting? We have a motion. Second.
Second.
Any objections? Thank you. Approved. Second, I would like to take some more time to review the presentation related to the project milestones for 2019, and so I've asked for that presentation to be put off to a future meeting. So if we could, now if I could ask Mr. Flens to provide a brief update on the status of the transparency measures that the governor directed for the authority. Tom, could you give us a sense of what we're doing on putting change orders online and what issues we need to address to make sure that we do the same with contractor expenses? Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. We are planning to put all the change orders as was requested in the audit report online, and we will have that done by the end of this week. The invoices that show contractor expenses is going to take us a little longer to put those together, but those will shortly thereafter follow and be presented online as well.
Okay, thank you. Could we now move on to the State Route 99 realignment project update?
Good morning, Chairman, board members, and CEO Kelly. First, I just want to thank Dan from all the staff and all the people of the Central Valley. They did always appreciate when you visited them, and I think you made them feel special, important. From the people of Fairmead to the city of Fresno, even Kings County always welcomed you, and city of Bakersfield. So, and to the farmers in Wasco. So, I want to thank you on their behalf. So,
I did get some free vegetables in Kings
yes,
County.
Yes, you did.
Make sure to report it. Yeah, that's right. No, they weren't reportable. They were aimed at.
So my name is Diana Gomez. I am the Central Valley Regional Director. I am here along with Garth Fernandez, Caltrans Project Manager, to provide an update on the State Route 99 realignment project. Last Friday, we had a ribbon cutting for the project. It was a major milestone in our program. At almost $300 million, the realignment project was the largest in Caltrans District 6 history. The realignment represents a steadfast partnership that was created between the California Department of Transportation, High-Speed Rail, and the city of Fresno. The realignment is part of the High-Speed Rail corridor of projects within the Merced to Fresno project section. This realignment accommodates the high-speed rail system between the existing freeway and the Union Pacific Railroad. Additionally, the alignment project improves traffic operations, reduces congestion, and enhances overall traffic safety. To accommodate for our high-speed train, 2 miles of State Route 99 between Ashland Avenue and Clinton Avenue were moved between 80 and 100 feet to the west. This was no small task with so many moving parts and coordination. State Route 99 is one of the busiest highways in the Central Valley. At this time, Garth will go over some of the details of the project, and we will have a video of the work and take any questions at the end.
Good morning, everybody. So as Diana mentioned, the scope of the project, apart from the primary purpose of the project, which was to accommodate high-speed train and make a corridor.
Can you move the microphone up, please?
Better now?
There, thank you.
So while the primary purpose of the project was to create a high-speed train corridor between the existing Union Pacific Railroad and State Route 99 by realigning 99 to the west, there were additional benefits. You can see some of the pictures that we have of the corridor up there. We have a completely redesigned interchange at Clinton with access up top of 99. Previously, Clinton was a non-conventional interchange. We had increased vertical clearances for the high-speed rail corridor, both at Ashland overhead and Clinton overhead. We improved pedestrian accessibility by wider sidewalks and better lighting. Enhancing the operations by closing 3 partial interchange within the contract, within the limits of the contract. Just generally overall a better driving experience in the city of Fresno through the limits of 99. So we utilized what we call a CMGC, that's Construction Manager General Contractor for this project. We hired our contractor, Granite Construction, in the design phase of the project based on qualifications. The contractor then provided input through the design phase, and we were able to achieve over $20 million in contractor innovations. We were able to also maintain the schedule of the project by ensuring we could put out packages when we got into issues and we had to create a workaround. So we created early work packages to address critical path work, and we were able to maintain the schedule of the project. And over 70% of this project was competitively bid. So we had to do that to ensure that we could then get our 30% or be able to achieve our 30% small business goal. So one of the other benefits to doing the project the way we did it was we developed a relationship with and trust with the contractor very early on in the design phase, and that carried forward through the construction phase. And as a testament, we have no outstanding claims in the project to date. So as far as the schedule and budget, we actually had a contract approved February of 2013. As a matter of fact, it was this very day on the 19th that was approved. Our current commitment was to complete the high-speed rail corridor in October of 2018 and complete the entire 99 realignment in December of 2018. So traffic started using the new lanes of 99 in August of 2018. And we are substantially complete as of December of 2018. So the wet weather in the past couple of months, very welcome wet weather in the last couple of months, has pushed out our final completion date, but we expect to accept the project sometime in March of this year. So as Diana mentioned, our contract was roughly close to it's $290,100,000. Our estimate at completion is tracking very closely to our budget. I believe will be within 1% of our budget, plus minus. The unknown that we have right now are a couple of properties that are going through eminent domain for compensation purposes. So right away, we had 42 parcels that we needed to acquire on this project. All of the properties were either commercial or belonged to the railroad. It included 6 motels that had been converted to long-term housing. So we had to relocate approximately 277 individuals, 137 individual families were relocated, including 30 businesses and about 105 individual storage units. We also demolished 19 buildings, including a gas station, motels, and various commercial buildings. We did minimize the project footprint and impact to private property. We had built about 17 retaining walls for the entire project. So one of the significant challenges on our project, as always, is utilities and the railroad. And the associated coordination between them. We did have some delays on the project, but we were able to work around these challenges. So as far as employment is concerned, we had 1,750 craft men and women dispatched to the project, with over 75% of these from the Central Valley counties. Over 500,000 craft labor hours were used to build the project. And finally, our small business program, like I said, we had a 30% goal for small business participation, and I'm happy to report we have achieved 31.5%. Our sub-goals of 10% of disadvantaged business enterprise, we were able to achieve 12.6%, and disabled veterans business enterprise, we achieved 3%. So overall, we employed 56 small businesses for this project. And with that, I hand it back to Doug.
Take a drive through Fresno and it's hard to miss high-speed rail construction from the San Joaquin River Viaduct in the north to the Cedar Viaduct in the south.
3, 2, 1.
But it's another high-speed rail-related project that's having immediate benefits in and around Fresno, the State Route 99 realignment.
So when we started, 99 was still a 6-lane facility. It was crowded through the city of Fresno. The pavement was deteriorating, and the vertical clearances on the structures were not to standard.
Now the highway has been moved 100 feet to the west to make way for high-speed rail. Long-life pavement has been used to replace traditional asphalt.
Long-life pavements are going to enable us to not ever have to come back to this section for the next 30 to 40 years.
The Ashland Avenue Bridge was raised. But perhaps the focal point of this project was the demolition and reconstruction of a new and improved Clinton Avenue interchange.
We have a brand new modern interchange at Clinton with access all on the top.
Wow, it is a beautiful overpass that the city of Fresno would have never been able to rebuild.
The new Clinton interchange has improved traffic patterns and pedestrian access. It's also landscaped with 2,500 trees and shrubs.
I see it as a gem and really a true benefit for the entire city of Fresno.
A gem that also meant work for skilled labor, resulting in 500,000 man-hours of work. And of the 1,700 craft laborers involved, more than 60% live in the valley.
This infrastructure is going to help our community and really generating the jobs that are benefiting the families that live here in the city of Fresno.
The 99 realignment was not always convenient for those living in the area, but Caltrans worked with the city to keep the impacts to a minimum and the project on schedule.
And I stand here today, 2019, and look at it and think about the commitment we made back in 2013 to the authority that will be done by the end of 2018, and we are there.
That's the end of our presentation, and if you have any questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, I do. So just make sure I understand the numbers, Diana. The contract amount was $290 million and change. Expended to date $259 million, and yet $81 million to go. So we have an overage of about, what, $50 million?
So the $290 million is our total budget. The $81 million that was shown in the slide for right-of-way, that's already included in the $290 million.
It is, okay.
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you. It wasn't clear from the slide deck. It looked like we were over.
Please.
Thank you. Was any of the costs borne by Caltrans, or was it all high-speed rail?
This was 100% high-speed rail.
Diane, I just want to commend you on the achievement of the goals that you've made for small minority businesses and women-owned businesses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Assemblyman Ramos, please.
Well, I just wanted to take a moment and actually say I drove on that earlier today as I was getting here. This section of the 99 represents the portion of my assembly district that I have the honor of representing. And seeing the transformation that occurs each day through the hard work that you and your staff and everyone does is transforming our community. And just wanted to thank you and take a moment to appreciate the new exit that came off of Golden State Boulevard. It makes getting home a little bit easier. You know, part of the reason we do these large infrastructure projects is to transform communities like ours. And those of us who see it each day in Fresno are starting to believe. And I really would encourage the rest of the state to realize and recognize the benefits of continued investments in infrastructure in disadvantaged communities like mine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Anyone else? Okay, with that, the meeting is adjourned.
Are you going to do a closed session?
Oh, for the public meeting is concerned and go to closed session.
So basically the way to say is the board will now adjourn into closed session.
The board will now adjourn into closed session.
Yeah.
I'm learning, Dan. Thank you.